Okay. Last week, right, we talked about the plants, how the plants reproduce to produce new plants. And also we talked about the male reproductive system and also the female reproductive system. And then I would like to show you some of the questions so you can know how to answer it. So this is later I will send to you. Yeah, for this one, okay. So this is example of questions they will ask you. Okay, so you can have a look. They will ask you something like this, okay. Let me show you example. Okay, for example, like explain the disadvantage of using sexual reproductions to breed the red carnations. Okay, this red carnation is a kind of plant. So what is the disadvantage of using sexual reproductions to breed it? So you can say that because we already know that the sexual reproductions, if compared to the asexual reproductions, so the sexual reproductions, what they do is they are actually using the meiosis, right? The meiosis will produce the gametes. The gametes is either male or female gametes. So later, this male and female gametes, they need to be fertilized to form a zygote. So that's why you can able to increase the genetic variations, right? So the disadvantage of using the sexual reproductions is they will create the genetic variations. This one, okay, they will create the genetic variations. So this means that the offspring, right, they may not inherit the trait for the red flower. Yeah. So it's because that sexual reproductions, you produce a zygotes, I mean offspring. So this offspring, right, is totally not 100% genetically identical compared to the to like the asexual reproductions. Yeah. So that's why the offspring they produce is totally different from the parents. So it will lose some of the parents, I mean, it will lose some of the traits, which is resemble like the parents, right? And also sexual reproductions, what they do is they require two parent plants. So this will be the time-consuming process to achieve the pure breeding stock. So means that sexual reproductions, they require longer time to complete, and also they spend more energy. They require more energy inputs to produce the offspring if compared to the asexual reproductions. Okay, and then what is actually meiosis? Okay, meiosis is the process which our is only involved in the production of the sex gametes, right? So there's only 3 cell, I think like the process of the meiosis, okay? 3 cell which is being produced from the meiosis, which is referred to the sperm, ovum, and also one more is pollen grain. Yeah, this one, pollen grain. So this 3 cell is a product of the meiosis. So meiosis is actually a form of nuclear divisions. Okay, so actually what they do is they will halve the chromosome number of the cell. So initially the chromosome number of cell, right, maybe it's about, for example, is 46. So they will divide them, okay, become 23 chromosome number only. Okay, so by this way, right, you can produce about 4 genetically different haploid cell from a single diploid cell. So it's just something like this. Where's my pen? It's just something like this, right? So this is the diploid cell, okay? So after they undergo meiosis, right, from this one parent diploid cell, okay, this is one parent cell. And then this is the diploid cell, okay, which is 2 ends. 2 ends refer to the 2 set of chromosomes. They have 2 set of chromosomes. So after they undergo meiosis, they will produce 4 haploid cell. Okay, so from from the single diploid cell, right, they will produce 4 different haploid cell. So which is N, 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 N. So this requires 4 haploid cell. Okay, 4 haploid cell. And then this 4 haploid cell, right, is not genetically identical, which is when you refer to this cell, if with this cell, right, it's totally different. Okay, it's different. It's also different to their parent cell. It's also different. So each of the haploid cell, right, they have the unique combinations of the genetic traits. Okay, due to the result of the meiosis. Okay, some of the question, right, you still haven't learned it, so I will just leave it blank. I will only discuss the questions that we have learned before, right? So and then okay, let me go through a few other kind of questions, like, yeah. So you also learn about the pollinations. So how the plant they do the pollination is by the insect pollinator or the wind pollinators. Okay, so if they use this insect to do the pollinations, that means the flower itself, right? They need to attract the insect. For example, they need to have the bright color petals, a sweet scent, and the presence of nectar. Okay, yeah, like this. So that's why they can attract the insect. Okay, they can attract the insect. Then, how about this one? Okay, describe the event that occur after the pollen grains leave the anther of flower until the fertilization take place. So this is they talk about, for example, like this flower, right? Okay, this is a flower, and then this flower. Okay, so there's a pollinator. Okay, either it's a wind or it's a bee or it's an insect, right? They will help to transfer. They help to transfer the pollen grain. Okay, so the pollen grain is being produced from where? Pollen grain is being produced from the male reproductive organs on the flower, which is actually they refer to the anthers, right? Yeah, because anther is a site which is they will produce a pollen grain, 花粉. So as the pollen grain leaves the anthers, it must be landing on the stigma of the flower. Okay, so it might be the same flower or it might be the other flower types. Okay, so that's why whenever the pollen grains they landing on the stigma, so you should write those structure. Okay, so they will germinate a pollen tube. So the pollen tube will grow from the pollen grains. Okay, so it means that the pollen tube, right, they are actually germinate from the pollen grains. So the pollen tube, right, they will grow, okay, to a long tube. So they will growing downwards, down toward the stalk. They are actually growing downwards towards the ovary. So the male gametes nucleus, right? Because inside the pollen tube, you actually carry the male gametes nucleus. So they will travel down this pollen tube, right? And then they'll enter the ovule. See? So how they get into the ovule? Ovule are enclosed within the ovary. Okay, ovule are enclosed within the ovary. It's just something like this. This is the stigma, right? Stigma. Okay, then this will be the star, okay? And then growing to the ovule. Yeah, so this is the stigma. And then this is a star, okay? So this is star where the pollen tube will grow downwards. And then they will get into the ovule, okay? Ovule is here. Inside the ovule, right, you actually have a lot of the cell, okay? For example, like the egg cell. Ovule actually is a place which they contain the egg cell, which is the ovum. Ovum are found inside the ovule. So the ovary is cover the ovule, okay? So it will be ovary. So how the pollen tube able to get into the ovule is they will enter through the opening called as macropyle. This one, macropyle, okay? So here will be the opening at here. See? The opening. So you can just imagine that the pollen tube, right, they will just grow and then they'll grow here, like this. So this is very, very long pollen tube, okay? They just grow and enter to the small hole and get into the ovule. And then inside the ovule, there will be found a lot of cell inside. So the fused with the nucleus of the female gamete, which is egg cell. Because egg cell are found inside the ovule. Okay, egg cell are found inside the ovule. So this fusion of nucleus is called as fertilizations. Okay, it's called as fertilizations. You know what I mean by fertilization? No? Fertilizations is known as 受精, okay, which is involved the fusions of the male and female gametes. Okay, fusion of male and female gametes. So it's same to the human and also same to the plants, okay? Because it's a process which is they carry the new gametes, right? To fuse with the female gametes. Anyone is talking now? I heard some sound. Okay, I thought you want to ask me a question. Okay, I hope you are clear. And then okay. So okay, this one. Another very common question to come out in exam is the sperm structure, okay? See, this is the sperm cell, right? And then you should know how to describe the structure of the sperm cell. Yeah. And then this is some like calculations, okay? Which is, I think you still remember, right? The calculation for the magnifications, okay? Which is M equal to image site over actual site, okay? And then you need to do some calculation, right? So this is their actual length, okay? 0.055 millimeter. So you need to convert the value become micrometer. So you have to convert it. You just time 1000, right? Just time 1000 is because that 1 micrometer equal to 1000. Oh, sorry, 1 millimeter. This one, 1 millimeter equal to 1000 micrometer. So you need to times 1000, then you get 55 micrometer. Okay, this one. Explain why the nuclei of the sperm cell is different from those other cells in the milk. So we can see, right, in the sperm cell, the nucleus is different to other kind of cell found inside the milk. It's because the sperm cell is only the cell which is classified as haploid. Haploid means they only have single set or one set of chromosome. Okay, they have one set of chromosome. Okay, because in other body cell, right, we call it as a somatic cell, right? Somatic cell. Somatic cell, okay, usually they have about 2 set of chromosome, which is they refer to the, for example, liver cell, muscle cell, all body cell, right? They have 2 set of chromosome. Only the haploid cell, okay, they have 1 set of chromosome. It's because those haploid cell is as a product of the meiosis. Yeah, so they are produced from the meiosis. Okay, so why they need to half the chromosome number become single set? Is because they need to restore back. They need to restore back the diploid number later after they successfully undergo fertilizations, right? So that's why initially, right, the 46, right, this is 46 chromosome for the cell. So they need to undergo the meiosis. Okay, meiosis. So they will produce 23. Okay, so for example, this is a sperm cell. Okay, for example, sperm cell. Same to the ovum also. Okay, ovum also from the progenitor cell, right? Okay, from the progenitor cell, they also have 46. But after that, they will be undergo meiosis and they will produce 4 haploid cell. Okay, it's also 23. But the difference between this is the ovum, okay, for example, this is ovum, and then this is sperm, okay, this is sperm now. So, but the difference is ovum from one progenitor cell, okay, which is a parent diploid cell. So this 46 is referred to the parent diploid cell, right? This parent diploid cell. So they will undergo meiosis. Now, by this meiosis, right? Meiosis, they will produce 4 haploid cells. Just that these 3 haploid cells, right, they will degenerate, only left this 1 haploid cell. So that's why only 1 ovum will be produced, but there will be a lot of sperms being produced. You understand what I mean? Means that one cycle, right? One cycle for the spermatogenesis. Spermatogenesis means it's the process which is they produce the sperm. They call it spermatogenesis. Each of the spermatogenesis process, right, they produce a lot of copy of the sperm. But one oogenesis, right? Oogenesis is the process they produce the ovum. So only 1 ovum is being produced from one cycle of the oogenesis. You know, so you only get 1 ovum, but you have a lot of sperm. So that ovum, right? That ovum, they can fill with either 1 sperm, right? Yeah, see, they can fuse. Finally, they will become what? 23 plus 23, they will become about 46, right? They'll form a diploid zygote. Yeah, so this is called diploid zygote, which is 46. Okay, diploid zygote. So later, this diploid zygote, they will undergo meiosis. Oh, sorry, mitosis. Diploid zygote. So this diploid zygote, later, they will undergo the mitosis. So to ensure the fertilizations being successfully done, so this is to restore, okay? You should write this term, restore the diploid number of the chromosome. So this is a keyword that you should include in your answer in order to get mark. Okay, so the structure of the sperm cell, I think you already know how to describe, right? Which is the sperm cell, they have a tail. They have a tail to swim towards the egg. Yeah, they just swim toward the eggs, right? And then they have the mitochondria. So these mitochondria, they can release the energy from the respirations for movements, because movements require a lot of energy input. And the acrosome, the head parts, they contain the enzyme. So this enzyme, they can digest the jelly cord. They can help to digest jelly cord and allow the sperm to penetrate inside. Okay, so it's not as hard as you think. Just you need to do more exercise only. Okay, so sometimes they will come out like this. Okay, yeah, this is a bit challenging because you should know how to identify the structure. Okay, so what is it? C. You know, C is come from the, I think C is from the female part, right? So C is just something like this anther. Okay, yeah. So anthers, right? This is the anthers, which is the site they produce the pollen grain. Okay, they have a very long anthers. Yeah, so this is anther, they produce pollen grains. So the stigma will be here. This is the stigma. Okay, so the anther, right? So the anther, they will produce the pollen grains. They will produce the pollen grains and then reach the stigma. Yeah. And then stigma, right? You know, stigma, sticky, okay? They'll produce a sticky, something like hua mi, you know, sticky sucrose fluid. So they can help to stain the pollen grain. So then they will germinate to the pollen tube and then they grow down the stalk. So here will be the stalk. See here, the long tube, right? There will be a stalk. And then what is E? E is the, I think it's ovary, okay? Ovary. Ovary, which is, they will help to develop the seeds. And then the sepal is B, okay? Oh, sorry, A. A is a sepal. Yeah. Okay, so you just need to know how to label it. And then for this one, okay, this is actually the pollen grains, right? Pollen grains from the wind pollinated and the insect pollinated flower. And then you should know how to differentiate which pollen grain is belong to which one. It's either from wind pollinators or insect pollinators. So for the insect pollinated, right, their surface, they must be spiky, heavy, okay? So example, J, right, J, they must be the insect pollinated flower because J, right, they have a very spiky, I mean, they have spike, you know, spike. They have a spike on their surface, like this, okay? See, spiky surface. So this spike on the surface, right, they can help to stick to the insect body. Okay, and then this one, part of the flower, they contain the female gametes, is the ovule. Because ovule contain the egg cell. So this female gamete, right, is they are actually referred to the egg cell. Egg cell is the one who fills with the male gametes later. Okay, and then see again, they'll always repeat the same questions. Okay, what is very important of gametes to be haploid is because the chromosome number does not double at fertilizations. So they are just remain constant between the fertilizations, sorry, between the generation. So that's why it's important. Okay. It is to restore the diploid number of chromosome after undergo fertilization. Okay, that's all. I think general is like this, okay? Okay. So we'll continue the chapter for today. And then today we're going to talk about this one. Okay. Last week we already finished about the male and female reproductive system, right? And also we talk about the plants, okay, how the plants able to do the reproductions, which is the sexual or the asexual part. And then now, before we talk about this one, growth and development of fetus, right? And then let us talk about what is meant by menstruation cycle. Okay, which is this one, okay, menstruation cycle, which is referred to here. This one, menstrual cycle, okay? So you can open to this note, because yeah, you can open to this note first. I think I sent to you, right? This one, chapter 16, partial complication. Okay, you can open this one, or I can resend to you again. Can you follow this note? Okay, because we are going to use this note to discuss the menstruation cycle. Okay, can you see this note? Partial complication, yeah, this one. Okay, are you ready? If you're ready, let me know.
Ready.
Okay, thanks. Okay, menstruation cycle, right, it's a challenging topic to be understood. Okay, why I say like this is because this process is a bit complex, okay? So, what happened? Okay, so please stay with me, okay? Menstruation cycle, it occur about 1 month, okay? 月经的周期 is 1个月, okay? 1 month. It's about 28 days, okay? So what happens in these 28 days? So you can see there will be fluctuation. There will be the required fluctuations of the hormones. So there will be 4 types of hormones take part in the menstrual cycle, which is this one. Okay, you can see the FSH, the FSH, LH, okay, and the progesterones and the estrogens. These 4 types of hormones, and then how these 4 types of hormones work together to carry out the menstrual cycles. So it's something like this, okay. Okay, before you read this first slide, okay, you know that this menstrual cycle is a cyclic change that occur in the ovary and the uterus to prepare it for the fertilized ovum and the subsequent developments. Means is menstrual cycles, their purpose is they want to produce one ovum, because that ovum they can do fertilization later by the sperm, right? So every one cycle of the every menstruation cycle, right, they will produce one ovum. And then this menstruation cycles, right, is being regulated by the hormones, which is that 4 hormones they are referred to, okay, the FSH, LH, estrogen, and the progesterone. Yeah. And then let's start first, okay. The menstrual cycle, right, initially is like this, right. You can follow me to draw down, okay. First, it starts from your brains, okay. It's not from your brain, okay, but the brain of your female, okay, the female brains. They have a hypothalamus, right? So this hypothalamus, they will secrete out the hormones, okay. So it's like this, okay. Hypothalamus secrete out the hormones. So this hormones, right, is known as what? You know as GnRH. What is meant by GnRH? It's known as gonadotropin releasing hormone, okay. It's a bit long, okay. It's also classified as sex hormone, okay. Gonadotropins releasing hormone. Just the function of this hormone is they will ask other organs to release their own hormones. So these GnRH hormones, okay, they will stimulate the anterior pituitary glands. This one, anterior pituitary gland. And then you know that when you talk about this pituitary gland, right, you have about anterior and posterior. So now we talk about anterior first, because anterior pituitary gland is the one they will secrete the FSH and the LH. Okay, so after the GnRH stimulated the anterior pituitary gland, right, now anterior pituitary gland is being stimulated. So once they're being stimulated, right, they will start to produce hormones. So the first hormone they produce is, we know as the FSH hormones. So this is the first hormones they produce it. I'll draw something like this. FSH hormone is the full name will be the follicle stimulating hormone, okay? The full name, follicle stimulating hormones. So the functions of the follicle stimulating hormones, I will refer to the name follicle stimulating hormone, right? Is actually they will stimulate the follicle growth. What they do is actually they are trying to stimulate, okay, for the follicle growth. So what's mean by follicle growth? Because you can just imagine that within the ovary, okay, this is just happened inside the ovary, 卵巢, okay, the ovary. Inside the ovary, right, there's a lot of follicle, which is not mature yet. 还没有成熟的这个卵子. Okay, follicle is referred to the 卵子，还没有成熟的卵子. So that's why these follicle stimulating hormones, they make the immature follicle become mature. So they will stimulate the growth. Okay, so how they able to stimulate growth? So because that the follicle, right, they have different stage. The primary follicle, secondary follicle, and then become tertiary follicle, which is mature now. So like this, okay? For the primary follicle, I just put one now, okay? It means primary follicle, okay? To the secondary follicle, and then to the tertiary follicle. This tertiary follicle, right, is mature. It's a follicle which is already mature. 成熟, okay, mature. This is immature yet, okay? If in the primary follicle, it's still immature yet. Immature. So this mature tertiary follicle, right, they have a name. No, they are actually known as Graafian follicle, okay? Okay, we stop until here first. We look at the picture first. Okay. So you can see, right, the anterior pituitary gland is being stimulated by the GnRH hormone. So first, they'll produce FSH, right? Which is this one. So FSH, what they do is, you can see, right, this showing the menstrual cycle, okay, from first day to 28 days, just 1 month periods. Okay, so, and then this half, right, you can see there's a line which refer to 14 days. Okay, here is about 14 days. Yeah. So we want to identify the menstrual cycle, right, based on their phase. Okay, they have about 3 phases, okay? First, we talk about follicle stimulating hormone first, because we need to use these hormones to stimulate the maturation of the follicle. Only later they can do the fertilizations. So we need to stimulate the growth of follicle first by the follicle stimulating hormones. Understand? So that's why initially, right? I mean, in the first 5 days, I think it's first 5 days. Okay, from 1 to 5 days. Actually, the follicle stimulating hormones is increasing. Can you see this? This follicle stimulating hormone. Okay, I just draw at orange color, right? You can see their level actually is increasing. Can you see increasing? At this level. Okay, it's increasing. Why? Because they need to stimulate the growth of follicle. So you can see, right, the follicle, which is from the primary, secondary to the tertiary. So like this is primary, okay? It's a bit blur, sorry. Primary, okay? Primary is just very small follicle because it's still immature yet. So it's small. To tertiary. And then until now they become now here. This one is a tertiary follicle, which is known as Graafian follicle, GF. This follicle is mature. So later they can release their ovum. Okay, so this ovum, right? Later they can fertilize with the sperm. So this is the mature follicle we know as the tertiary follicle, which is Graafian follicle. Okay, see? Graafian. And this one, Graafian follicle. So by this process, right, actually the growth of follicle, right, actually what are they growing? They are actually growing the follicle layer. So you just imagine like this, right? This is a follicle cell. Oh, I should draw a better way. Okay, this is follicle cell. Okay, so this is the follicle cell. Okay, so surround the follicle cell, there will be this one. Like this. Okay, this is known as what we know as a follicular cell. Okay, follicular cell, but they are actually growing this layer, the outside layer. So from like this become like this, become more and more layer. You know, like this. See, more and more layer. Which outside this one, okay. This one we know as a follicular. So what are these follicular cell they do? Okay, another word I'm not sure I have a clear picture or not. Let me show you the picture, right? This one. Okay. Wait me for a while. I show you a better picture. Which is actually they are growing the external layer. I think this one. Yeah, this one. Okay, can you see? See, this is this primordial follicle is they refer to the parents cell. Okay, yeah. So after that, they will become primary follicle. So you can see, right, the primary follicle, they are surrounded by a single layer of the follicular cell only. But after that, they will grow more. So now they become tertiary follicle. They become secondary follicle. So you can see when they grow to become secondary follicle, right, the outside layer, there will be multiple layer of the follicular cell. Okay, so after that, they'll become Graafian follicle. So in the Graafian follicle, right, now they become mature already. And then the side is growing bigger and bigger because inside they contain fluid already. So when they are growing this outer layer of the follicular cell, they will secrete estrogens. Okay, they will secrete estrogens. Yeah, they will secrete estrogen. So you just imagine that estrogens is being secreted out. Estrogen, I will use another color. What color I use? I use pink color. So initially, right, the estrogen is very low level, okay? So it's primary to tertiary follicle, and then now they become Graafian follicle. Graafian follicle is larger, okay? It's larger. Yeah, it's larger. Okay, and then, yeah, outside they still have a lot of follicles out, it's larger, and inside they contain a fluid. Yeah, so this graph like a GF is tertiary, which is mature. Okay, it's mature. So when they are actually growing the outside follicular layer, right, they will secrete the estrogen. Okay, they will secrete the estrogens. So estrogen, this one. Okay, so initially the estrogen is very low, right? They have a low level estrogen. But when they are actually when they're actually growing more layer of follicular cell, they will secrete more estrogen because estrogen is come from here. See, they come from here. Yeah, from the outside follicular cell. So the estrogen slowly they'll become high level. They become increasing level. Okay, now they become high. Okay, then when talking about this one, estrogens is high or is low. Okay, what is important of this high or low estrogens? As you can refer to this graph, right? Estrogen, right? You can refer to this graph. Okay, initially, the graph of the estrogen is very low, which is here. Okay, very low. But as the follicle cell grow, right, they actually increase in their level. Okay, they are actually increase in their level. From this, right, they become higher in level. See, they're actually increasing their level. So this is about 5 days onwards. Okay, so you can just imagine this is first 5 day, right? 5 day onwards, they are actually increasing in their level. So you can see, right, estrogen level, they're slowly increasing their level, become higher and higher. So this showing that the estrogen level is increasing. Okay, and then what will happen is this estrogen, right, they can induce the feedbacks towards the hypothalamus. So what will happen is if you have a very low estrogens, right? If you have a very low estrogens, you can induce a negative feedback to the hypothalamus. Okay, maybe you can draw like this. If you have a very low estrogens, you can have a negative feedback to the hypothalamus. Okay, negative feedback. So this negative feedbacks, okay, is caused by the very low estrogen level. So what does this feedback do? If the hypothalamus, they get a negative feedback, right, they will inhibit on the secretions of the, we call as the FSH hormones. Okay, they will inhibit the secretion of the FSH hormone. Okay, this one, follicle stimulating hormones. So that's why FSH hormones, right, even though it's increasing, you can see that in the first 5 days, even though the FSH hormone is increasing, but it's not as high level as in 14 days for the FSH hormones because it's being inhibited by the estrogens. Okay, estrogens, they will induce a negative feedback on the hypothalamus, and then hypothalamus, right, they will also induce they will induce a negative feedback to the GnRH. Okay, they will inhibit on the GnRH. So when the GnRH is being inhibited, right, I just draw an arrow down. Arrow down means what? Inhibit. Okay, if the GnRH is being inhibited, right, they will cause the FSH hormones releasing, that's what productions also being inhibited. But when the estrogen level becomes higher and higher, it's because the follicle cell is growing, right? They will secrete more estrogen level. So that's why I will use this, I think I use this yellow color. Okay. Yeah, this one, okay? This color. Okay, what happened to my, okay, this one. So when this estrogen become higher and higher level due to the follicular cell growth, right, they will induce the positive feedback toward the hypothalamus. Okay. Positive feedback. due to the increasing in the estrogens. Okay, increasing in estrogen level, they will induce a positive feedback to the hypothalamus. So it will cause a GnRH increasing in productions, right? So when the GnRH increasing in productions, it will cause the FSH to increase. Now, okay, and at the same time, right, the anterior pituitary glands, they are not actually only produce FSH, okay? They are actually produce LH as well. We will call it what? Luteinizing hormones. So when the GnRH is being positive, okay, they have the positive feedback on the FSH and the LH. Means that when the hypothalamus, they will secrete more GnRH, right? The GnRH, they will stimulate the pituitary gland to secrete more LH and more FSH. So both will increase in level. See, both increase in level. So that's why on the day 14th, okay, you can see day 14th, they will be in surge. Surge means what? There will be the sudden increase of the FSH and LH, which are here. They just reach their peak. Okay, so to talk back again, right, which is initially, okay, the hypothalamus, right, they will secrete the GnRH. GnRH, they will secrete the anterior pituitary glands. Okay, they will stimulate the anterior pituitary gland to secrete the FSH hormones. So the FSH hormone first, they will stimulate the growth of the follicle first. Okay, this is our first step. Stimulate the growth of follicle first. But the follicle, right, okay, initially the estrogen level is very low because estrogen is being produced by the follicle cell, right? So after that, when the estrogen level become very high, right, they will cause the positive feedback to the hypothalamus. So they will produce more GnRH. And then if you increase the production of GnRH, right, more GnRH, they will stimulate the anterior pituitary gland, so they can increase the production of the FSH and LH. So this is a curve between day 5 to 14, here and here. Day 5 to 14, okay? So LH, right, they will have a peak on day 14. This is, you need to remember, okay, LH, they will peak on the day 14 because what? LH surge, okay? This one, LH surge. So when the LH surge on day 14, what will happen? LH, the function is what? What is the function of LH? LH, right, they can do the ovulations. Okay, they can induce ovulations. Something like this. Okay, they can induce the ovulations. So at this one, what's mean by ovulations? Have you heard of this term before? Ovulation is referred to, yes?
I haven't heard of it before.
Okay, you heard this before, right? Okay, ovulation is a process which is now the graphic follicle, right? You can see, right? This graphic follicle is mature, right? It's mature and then it's being ready to release their secondary oocyte. Yeah, which is this one, this one. So ovulation is a process which is this graphic follicle, they mature and then releasing their secondary oocyte. Just is something like this. They rupture. So now they just releasing the secondary oocyte. So actually this is known as ovulations. Ovulation is being stimulated by the LH, by this LH surge. So it's actually referred to this one. You can see, okay, from the primary follicle, become secondary follicle, become graphic follicle, which is mature, until they just release the ovum. They just release this one inside. They release this thing. Ovum is released during the ovulations. So this is the ovum. Okay, after that, this ovum, right, they will being released to the, from the ovary, right, they will release to the oviduct. And then they will try to encounter the sperm to do the fertilizations. Okay, so this is ovulations. ovulation means is the ovum is being released out. Okay, ovum is being released out for the fertilization later. Okay, so this is due to influence of the LH hormones, right? This is under influence of LH hormones. Remember, yeah? Okay, so after that, what will happen? After ovulation, right? Okay. What will happen is, okay, now this is the ovum. Okay, this is the ovum. Ovum, okay, they will enter from the ovary. Okay, from the ovary. Okay, from the ovary. 卵巢, okay, from the ovary, and then they'll get into the oviduct. 输卵管. Oviduct is 输卵管. Oviduct is a site where they will encounter the sperm. So they'll enter to the oviduct, and then they wait for the sperm to come approach them. Okay. So another what will happen for this one is, we can see, right, this remnant of the graphite follicle. Now they become what? They become corpus luteum already. We call it what? Corpus luteum. In Mandarin, we call it 黄体. Corpus luteum. We call it 黄体 in Mandarin. Corpus luteum. So this corpus luteum, right, is actually a remnant of the previous graphite follicle. So this corpus luteum is very important. It's because corpus luteum, right, later they will do what? They will do the, remember, ovulation happened in the day 14. It's because LH surge in the day 14. Okay, so LH surge in day 14, they will induce the ovulation happen. Stimulate releasing of the ovum. And then they will produce a corpus luteum. So corpus luteum, right, later they will do what? They will produce the hormones, which is they know as progesterone. Okay, they will produce these hormones, progesterone. Progesterone. Okay, progesterone is being produced from the corpus luteum. So what's the function of this progesterone? Progesterone, right, their function is they will help to maintain the thickness of the endometrial lining. Okay, 维持子宫内壁的厚度 maintain thickness of the endometrium lining. So this is helping to prepare for pregnancy later. Okay, prepare pregnancy. It's because that if you want, if the women, right, they want to prepare for pregnancy, right, they need to have this one, implantation of embryo, right? Implantation of embryo. So before the embryo, they can implant to the uterus. The uterus lining, they must be very thick and vascular. So the zygote, they can implant on the surface. So this is progesterone. They can maintain the thickness. Okay, they just maintain the thickness. Okay, and then now we talk about this corpus luteum, right? So this is a function, you know these functions, and this one, ovum. Okay, ovum. What they do later is, they will try to meet the sperm. Okay, so this ovum, right, they can meet the sperm. Okay, so this is sperm. A tube. Okay, this is sperm. So what they do is they will do the fertilizations. Okay, they will do the fertilizations. Fertilization, 受精. So this fertilization, right, if successful, okay, if it's successful, thick here, thick means it's successful, right? So it will cause a corpus luteum still remains. Okay, so means that corpus luteum, they remains to continue secret. Okay, they just continue secret progesterone. I just put P4. Okay, P4 means what? Progesterone. It's a scientific term. But in your exam, you should write progesterone. Okay, don't write P4. So means that when the fertilization occur between ovum and sperm, right, You will produce what? You will produce diaper zygote, correct? You will produce what? Diaper zygote, which is 2N, okay, 2N. Remember your ovum and sperm, right, is haploid, okay? So now you produce diaper zygote. Later, you will do what? You will do the mitosis and become an embryo, right? So now they become what? Embryo. Okay, embryo. So embryo, right? Later they will do the implantations. They will do the implantations on the uterus. That's why uterus lining, they must be very thick and vascular. So now we talk about implantation. Implantation on the uterus. So after that, when the embryo is being successful implant on the uterus lining, so they will develop, later they will have the placenta, okay? Placenta. You know, the placenta. 胎盘. Placenta will only be formed when the zygote is being successfully implanted on the uterus lining. Only they will become placenta. Placenta is a very important, actually it's an endocrine organs, you know. Placenta 胎盘 is a kind of endocrine organs. Endocrine organs. Why I call placenta as an endocrine organ is because placenta, they will produce progesterone as well. See, they can produce progesterone, okay? They can produce P4. So means that it's not only copper to will produce progesterone. Placenta, they can do it as well. See? Okay? So as well, remember there's two structures they can produce progesterone. One is copper calcium. Another one will be the placenta. Okay, they will placenta. So later this placenta, right, what they do is that later they will do, they will become the umbilical cord, this umbilical cord. So umbilical cord, right, 脐带, okay? So umbilical cord, they can help to exchange your nutrients, materials between the fetus and mother. Okay, so here's the story. Here's the story. So at this one, what happened if the fertilization they have a failure? Yeah, means that you don't form a zygote. Okay, you don't produce a zygote because there's a failure in the fertilization. What will happen? Okay, so now let's talk about the failure of the fertilization, right? Yeah, here, fertilizations. I put a cross. Cross means failure, okay? So what happened is it will cause the copper tone to degrade. Cl means what? Cl means copper to degrade. Okay, so when copper tone will degrade, it's usually between 21 and 28 days. They will degrade. If you fail to fertilize it, maybe we have a look. See? Here, okay, from 1 to 14, okay? From 1 to 14, then to 28. So when the copper tone will degenerate, right? See? They are actually showing the degeneration of copper tone. They just disappear later. So it's between 21 and 28 days. Between 21 and 28 days, if you didn't successfully do the fertilizations, it will cause the copper tone to degrade later. Because you don't produce the embryo, right? Oh, sorry, you don't produce the zygote. So there's no implantation of the embryo on the uterus lining. So that's why there's no need to maintain the uterus lining. Okay, there's no need to maintain the thickness of the uterus lining. So that's why copper tone will degrade. So what happens if the copper tone degrade, right? Okay, at this one, if the copper return degrades, what happened to the progesterone? Is increasing, or is maintained, or is rapidly reduced? Your answer is hello. What happens is the copper return degrades. There's no more copper return. So the progesterone level in the body will still increasing, or just maintain their level, or they will decrease. Choose either one answer.
Decrease.
Decrease. Yes, it will decrease. Because there's no more copper return, right? And you know, copper return actually copper return is not an organ, right? It's just a structure. And just this structure, right, they can help to secrete out the progesterone. Yeah, so if there's no more copper returns, that means there's no more source of progesterone, right? So that's why they will decrease. So when they decrease, right, they will cause what? They will cause the endometrial lining to shed off. Okay, shedding of the endometrial lining. This means what? 子宫内壁脱落, you know, 子宫内壁脱落. So that's why they can do what? Menstruations. Yeah, menstruation. So means that bleeding occur. Okay. So the reason that every time when the women's having the menstruation, right, they'll be bleeding a lot. So the blood, right, the blood actually comes from the shedding of the internal endometrial lining. Yeah, it's because they shed off. So that's why they just come out as a blood like this. Okay, because the progesterone level, they degrade. Okay, they just decline rapidly. So that means that the whole endometrial lining, right, they just shed off. They shed off, then become they're just like bleeding. Okay, bleeding. Okay, so I think this is a whole process, right? I hope you don't feel very confused. I'm not sure you feel very confused or not. Yeah, just to remember, like okay, what you need to remember is you need to remember about the trends, okay, the graph trend for each hormones. So you know that, for example, like we talk about FSH and LH, right? You should know that in the first 5 days, right, the FSH is higher level compared to the LH hormones. But if between 5 to 14 days, right, the LH, they will have a LH surge, okay? The LH, right, they will just increase rapidly compared to the FSH. So that's why you can see this one. Yeah. So this is happened in day 14. So day 14, what's the event? Which is the ovulation. Ovulation happens. LH stimulate the ovulation happen, which is they will release the ovum, right? So after they finish the ovulation, right, which is after 14 days, right, they will produce the copper tubes. So this is the copper tube. Yeah. This yellow color thing, right, is a copper tube. I just put Cl here. Okay. Cl is copper tube. So this copper tube, right, they will help to secrete the progesterone. So actually, okay, another thing you need to know is copper tube, right, they will secrete the progesterone and the estrogen also. But just they will secrete more progesterone compared to estrogens. Means that they will secrete both hormones, but they secrete more on the progesterone for the copper tube. Okay, so after, if there's no fertilization happens, so copper tube, they will degenerate. So once they degenerate, right, there will be no source of progesterone. So that's why the progesterone, they will just decline like this. Okay, see, they just decline. Yeah, decline in the level. They just drop in level. Okay, this is happened between day 21 and day 28. Okay, so as you can see, and then you can see about this one. Okay, this show what? This show the thickness of the endometrial lining, the change in the thickness of endometrial lining over the periods. Okay, thickness of the endometrial lining, the change in thickness, 子宫内壁厚度的变化. So you can have a look that in the first 5 days, right? In the first 5 days, which is the female, usually they have the menstrual periods. So there will be what? Shedding of the endometrial lining. Okay, why they shed off the endometrial lining? It's because they don't have progesterone already. They don't have progesterones. They don't have the estrogen to support them. So that's why they'll shed off. Which is, they start from here. Okay, because there's no fertilization, right? Here, between 21 and 28, right, there will be no fertilizations. No fertilization. So that's why the endometrium, the lining shed off due to the decline of the progesterone and the estrogens. So they will have this menstrual cycle in the first 5 days, but after that, they will just restart the cycle again. So that's why the GnRH, right, they will be stimulated to ask the anterior pituitary glands to secrete out the FSH hormone. So that's why you can see the FSH hormones in the first 5 days, right, this slowly increasing in their level. Yeah, because they need to stimulate the growth of the follicle first. Okay, so at this one, you can see this growth of follicle, right, they just happen after the menstrual cycle. Okay, means that when they just shed off their lining, right, they just restart the cycle. The follicle, they start to grow again. They start to grow again. So they grow again, and then they will become mature again, which is become a ground follicle. So after that, due to the influence of the hormones, okay, which is the estrogen, okay, due to the increasing of the estrogen level, the increasing of estrogen level is due to the follicle growth, okay, follicle growth. Because during the follicle growth, right, they will secrete the estrogens. So when you actually increase the estrogen level, so it will cause a positive feedback to the anterior pituitary glands, so they can secrete more FSH and more LH. So that's why they will have a surge in the LH and FSH on day 14, okay, day 14. So that's why they can cause the ovulation happens, and then they will release the ovum. Yeah, waiting for the fertilizations. Okay, so that's all. So if you still feel didn't clear, right, you can read this. Okay, you can read this. So the important days in the menstrual cycle is in the first day, okay, the first 5 days, okay, for the 1, 2, 3, 4, the first day of the menstrual cycles, menstruations in the cycles, and the day 14 will be the ovulations. So at this ovulation time, right, it actually will be LH surge, okay, LH surge. Due to the increase in the estrogen level. So it causes the LH surge. Oh, sorry, LH surge. So how about day 21? So you can see, right, after they produce the copper deuterium, right, so if there's no fertilizations, they will start to degenerate. So the degeneration of copper deuterium, they just happen between day 21 and day 28. So that's why you can see the decline. You can see the decline in the estrogen and progesterone level at this period. Okay, see, once the progesterone and estrogen level, they decline, right, it will cause the endometrial lining to shed off like this. Okay, so this is we call it shedding off lining. Shedding off the endometrial lining is due to the decline. See, decline of the progesterone estrogens between day 21 and day 28. So here's the decline. Because there's no fertilization happen. Okay, so for the exam purpose, right, you need to know the hormones, the name and their functions and their place of secretions. Okay, so for the hormones, gonadotrophin releasing hormone, right? So they actually being produced by the hypothalamus. So what they do is they actually stimulate the anterior pituitary glands to secrete FSH and LH into the bloodstream. See, yeah, they will secrete FSH and LH into the bloodstream. So how about the follicle stimulating hormones? So they just want to stimulate the growth and development of the follicle cell. See, in the ovary, okay, in the ovary. So FSH hormones is being produced from the anterior pituitary glands. Then how about in the luteinizing hormones? In the luteinizing hormone, right, they actually stimulate the ovulations, which is the releasing of the ovum from the graph follicle. So they stimulate ovulation also, they will stimulate the development of the corpus luteums. Yeah. And then they will promote the secretion of the progesterones. See? Yeah, because corpus luteums, after they've been produced, right? Corpus luteum, they can secrete the progesterone, okay? They just secrete this. Yeah. So luteinizing hormones also produced from the anterior pituitary glands. Then how about estrogens? Okay. The function of estrogen is they will help to promote the thickenings of the abdomen lining. So it means that estrogens, they actually initiates the thickening of the abdomen lining. They start to repair first. Okay. Means that after the menstrual cycle, right? You can see after the menstrual cycles, the thickness reduced already. The lining become very thin, fragile. So that's why estrogens, okay, is being secreted out during the follicle growth, right? So estrogen, what they do is they actually help to repair, see? They help to repair the abdomen lining. So they are actually increase their thickness, and also make them become more vascularized. You know, vascularized. So you can see, right? This one, the blood vessel. Can you see? So initially, the blood vessel is not much prominent, right? It's not too obvious, just very small like this. But after that, when the estrogen and progesterones, they just increase in their level, you can see the blood vessel become much more prominent. So this we know as partly vascularized. Okay, because in order to have requires a successful implantation, right? In order to have a successful implantations, that means that the endometrium lining, they need to have thickness, okay? They need to have a certain thickness, increase in thickness, and become highly vascularized. Okay? So this vascularized means that the blood vessel become increase in number within the abdomen lining, or they become more prominent. So they can allow efficiency of the transport of the substance or exchange substance during the implantation. Yeah. So estrogens, right? They just start. Okay. So you can use the words. You can use these words. Okay. Promotes the thickening of the abdomen linings, and also they can help to stimulate the further growth of the follicle. Okay. So estrogen, right, is being secreted out from the growing follicle cell. They have a progesterone. Progesterone, right? The keyword is maintain, 维持, okay? Maintain the thickness of the endometrium for the implantation of the embryo. Means that the estrogen, right, they just start the process. They start to repair to make them become thickness. But later, the thickness will be maintained by the progesterones. Okay? So if you have a very high level of progesterones, right, you can prevent ovulations. Okay, what does this mean? High level of progesterones, you can inhibit on the ovulations. Okay, this means that, let me go back to this picture. Okay, if you, maybe you can have a look on this. If you successfully undergo the fertilization, right, okay, you will produce a lot of the progesterone level. Yeah, which is this one. Okay, you secret more progesterone level. I just put as arrow. Yeah, high level. Okay, high level. So that means this high level of progesterones, they will negatively inhibit on the FSH and LH. Okay, so they will inhibit on here. I'll just draw like this. Okay, sorry, a bit messy, but I hope you understand. Okay, yeah, this high progesterone, right? What they do is they will inhibit, negative inhibit on the hypothalamus. So when the hypothalamus is being negative inhibit, right, they will inhibit on the GnRH secretion also. So the anterior pituitary glands, now they will produce lesser FSH/LH, or they don't produce at all. Okay, you can see this arrow means that there will be no production of FSH/LH if you have a very high level of progesterone. High P4 level will inhibit. Okay, they will inhibit on the FSH/LH. Just remember it this way. It sounds logical, right? Like, can a pregnant woman having menstruations at the same time? The answer is yes or no. Can a pregnant woman having menstrual cycle at the same time? Yes or no? The answer is no. No, okay? 一个怀孕的女人是不会来月经的。It's because that when the woman having pregnancy, right, there will be very, very high progesterone levels. So this high progesterone level, they will inhibit on the FSH/LH. So they will inhibit on the production of the new follicle. Okay, because they just want to focus on the pregnancy. Okay, they want to focus on the growth of the baby itself, but not the growth of the follicle. So after the women's, right, they just give birth. They give birth on the babies. So now the baby is not in the body already. So that's why now the menstrual cycle, they will start out again. It's because once they just give birth the baby, right, the progesterone level, they will decline. So once the progesterone level decline, right, you can start off the menstrual cycle. Because if the progesterone level decline, that means the FSH and LH, right, they will increasing in their stimulation because the negative inhibition already being removed. Okay? Means if you have the decline in the progesterone level, you actually remove the negative inhibition on the hypothalamus. So they just work like normal, which is they will just secrete the GnRH. So the GnRH, they will cause the pituitary gland to secrete more FSH and LH. So they will start out the menstrual cycle again. Okay. Can you understand what I'm saying? Is it clear? Do you have any question?
Not really.
Okay. Yeah. So the menstrual cycles, right, is about 28 days, right? It's being divided into two phases. So the first phase will be what? Follicular phase. What's mean a follicular phase? Because at this phase, right, between 0 and 14 days, 0 to 14 days, right, actually it will be development of the follicle cell. So you can see, right, for the primary follicle, become secondary follicle, become gravid follicle, it's happened at this phase. So how about in the 14 to 28 days, it will be the luteal phase. Luteal phase means what? Luteal phase is referred to the corpus luteum is being produced out. So when the corpus luteum is being produced out, right, they will secrete the progesterone and the estrogens. Yeah. So they call it luteal phase. So at this luteal phase, right, you can see the endometrial lining is very, very thick. Why is it very thick? It's because they have a progesterone estrogens help them to secrete, help them to develop the endometrial lining. This one. Okay. Both progesterone and estrogens, they help to promote and maintain the thickness of the endometrial linings in the luteal phase of the menstrual cycle. Okay, that's all. Yeah. Okay, later we can have a look on the questions, right? So if you still feel very confused, okay, you can just read this statement. I think after you read this statement, right, you will feel a little bit, it will help to clarify, okay, clarify the process, right? So you can see, right, in the first 5 days, right, the first day of the menstrual cycle is marked by the onset of the menstruations. Menstruation happens, so they will start to bleeding. Bleeding. It's due to the shedding of the endometrial lining. So after that, the GnRH hormone is being secreted by the hypothalamus, so they will stimulate the anterior pituitary glands to secrete the FSH, to release the FSH hormones to the bloodstream first. So FSH, right, they will stimulate the development of a follicle cell. Okay, you can say that FSH stimulate the growth and development of follicle cell. So this follicle cell, right, they will secrete the estrogen. So that's why estrogens, they will increasing in their level. Okay, so initially, if the estrogen level is very low, they will inhibit, they will exert a negative feedback on the pituitary glands. So they will keep the FSH/LH become very low during the development of follicle. But after that, the estrogen level sorry, the estrogen level, the rise steeply is because due to the growth of follicle. So now they just remove the inhibitions on the hypothalamus. So now they will secrete more FSH and more LH, right? So you can see, right, the high level of the estrogens, they will exert a positive feedback on the hypothalamus, result in the increasing in secretion of GnRH. Yeah, so if you increase the secretion of GnRH, you are actually increasing the FSH and LH. So you have the LH and FSH surge around 14. So if you have an LH surge, right, LH surge will stimulate the ovulations, releasing of the ovum away. Okay, so the remaining follicle tissue, right, they will become copper luteum. Okay, so on the 15 to 21 days, right, copper luteums, after they've been produced, they will start to secrete a very large amount of progesterones. Okay, yeah, because copper luteum, mainly they will produce progesterones. They can produce small amount of estrogen, but they more to produce progesterone. So the progesterone, they can cause the secretion of FSH to be stopped. So as just like I say that if you have a very high level of progesterones, you are actually inhibit on the FSH and LH. So that's why you stop them. You stop the productions. Okay, so you have the both estrogen and progesterones stimulates the uterine wall, so they become very thick and highly vascular. Okay, a lot of blood vessel growing inside. So they just want to prepare for the implantations of the fertilized ovum. Yeah, so which is for the zygote. Okay, implantation of zygote later. So if there's no more fertilizations, the copper luteum, they will start to degenerate, causing the estrogen and progesterone level to drop. Okay, so the reduced level of progesterones no longer will inhibit the hypothalamus, so that's why they can restart the cycle again. So there will be the production of FSH again, LH again. Yeah, that's all. Okay, so we finish about this, right? And then let's bring you some questions. Okay, so you can see the question they will ask something like this. So that's why you need to, I'm not asking you to memorize the curve, but you need to understand first so you know how is the trend of the curve for each hormone. Okay, so you have A, B, C, D. Okay, you tell me which one is progesterone. Which one is progesterone? A, B, C, or D? Okay, you can just recall back. Progesterone is become very high level in which day? First 7 days, within 7 to 14 days, or 14 to 21 days, or 21 to 28 days. Which one?
D.
D? Yes, it's D. Okay, why is it D? It's because it's last, right? I mean, it's the last hormone. Okay, usually the progesterone, right? You can see the position will be the last part. Yeah, here. Right here, see the last part. Okay, then how about A? What's A? A, B, C, D. Okay, A is, you can see the trend, right? A, you follow it. See the A. A, right? Okay, it's actually the highest level in the first 5 days. And then drop down, and then increase level again on day 14. So this one must be the FSH hormones, right? Okay, the FSH hormones. Then how about the B? Okay, the B. You can see, right, the B, they have what? They have about 2 peaks. Yeah, let me show you this one, a B. Okay, you're actually increasing between 7 to 14 days. B, actually, they have a highest level in the 7 and 14 days compared to other hormones, right? And then they have 2 peaks, you know? 2 peaks. So B will be the estrogens. Okay, there will be estrogens. Then how about C? C is LH, because C is highest at the day 14. Okay, so it's not as hard as you think, right? Okay, that's all. Let me show other questions. I think I show this one. Okay, we can open the questions, which is this one. This one, chapter 16, paper 4, past year answer. Okay, we can have a look on some question, right? Yeah. Okay, this is the example of the human's female reproductive system, and then you should able to identify which is the part. So R will be the ovary. Okay, so just like we talk about the production of the follicle cell, So those are happen inside the ovary. So ovary is a site which they produce the ovum. Then how about S? S is they refer to the oviducts, or sometimes they call it uterine tubes. Uterine tubes or oviduct. So it's a place which they happens the fertilizations. The fertilization that happen at this site, S. And then how about T? T is the uterines. Okay, it's because you can see that T is being surrounded by this one, the uterine linings. So these uterine linings, they must be very thick and very highly vascularized. So for the implantation of the embryo. Okay. So they're asking you, okay, the meiosis process happen inside the ovary. Yes, it's because ovary produce ovum. Ovum is a haploid, okay, it's a single set of chromosome. Then S, they will have the fertilization. T will be the implantation, okay. It's very easy for you. And then, yeah, for this one, okay. Let me show you other question. Yeah. Okay, for this one, we haven't talked about hormones first, sorry. Okay. What is this? This is actually the testis, you know, in the male reproductive organs is the testis. Testis is a place which they produce a sperm. Okay, so this is a place that produces sperm. So inside testis, right, it's just looking like this. Okay, you can see there's a lot of cell, and then where you can see the sperm. The sperm is actually found at here. You see it? Okay, the head part and the tail, right? The sperm. So this is the parent cell, right? There's a lot of parent cell here. So this parent cell actually is diploid, right? Okay, it's a diploid cell. Parent diploid cell. Parent diploid cell. So after that, this parent diploid cell, right, they will undergo meiosis. Okay, so after they undergo meiosis, right, they will produce those sperm, which is haploid. Yeah. So this is from the seminiferous tubule, okay, which is a structure found inside testes. Okay, they're asking you that why meiosis is necessary in the testes is because meiosis is to produce the male gametes or sperm for the sexual reproductions. So this is to halve the number of chromosomes, also to restore the diploid number. And also you can say that meiosis, right, they can increase the genetic variations. So this is the advantage, okay? And then for this one, draw and label the human egg cell. So this is the egg cell, okay? Sometimes they will ask you to draw the ovum. Then you should know how to draw it. So if you want to draw ovum, right, the most important thing is you should draw about the ovum, okay? Like this. Nucleus. And then you should draw about, there will be have this one, we call as the jelly cord. You know what is jelly cord? Here. This place, okay, this place is a jelly cord. Jelly cord. So every time we say that the sperm, right, they contain the acrosome. So acrosome contain the enzyme. So this enzyme, they can do what? They can digest the jelly cord. So where is the jelly cord? Jelly cord is from the outermost layer of the ovum, which is at this side. Here. Okay. Yeah, see here is the jelly cord. I think I go show you in the notes, right? Okay, these notes. Where is it? Waiting for a while, yeah. Jelly cord. See? You can draw like this. It's very nice picture for you, right? So, yeah. This draw is a nucleus inside. And then there will be the a layer, okay? The layer. So this layer is a zona pellucida, which is known as jelly cord. And then this jelly cord, right, they'll be surrounded by the follicular cell, okay? So this is a follicular cell. Another term we call is what? We know it's corona radiata, but it's okay. You just need to remember it's follicular cell. It's because this follicular cell, right, they will secrete the estrogens. Okay, they will secrete the estrogens. And then you need to describe that after penetration of sperm into the ovum, so the jelly cord will harden. So that's why they can prevent other sperm enter again, because we only can have one sperm to fertilize one ovum, not 2 or 3 sperm fertilize one ovum, right? Because you want to restore their dipole number of chromosomes. So we want to prevent polyspermy happens. And then you can say that after the sperm fill with the ovum to produce the double zygotes, the zygote, right, they will undergo the mitosis. They will have mitosis. So they will produce a what? Morula, okay? Morula. Morula means what? Morula is referred to the ball or cell. Okay, so morula later will become blastocyst. So blastocyst will move down oviduct, then they will implant on the endometrial lining. So here's a process, right? So for the menstruation cycle, they grow follicles. So from the primary follicle become secondary, then become grafted follicle. They will undergo ovulations. So after the ovulation, they will produce the ovum. Okay, they will release the ovum. So the ovum, they will fertilize with the sperm, right? They become the diploid zygote. So the diploid zygote, they will undergo mitosis. So mitosis, they will form a ball or cell, which is known as a morula. See, morula. Morula is referred to ball or cell. Maybe it's about 32 cell like that. Okay, from the 2 cell become 4 cell, 8 cell, 16 cell, 32 cell, or 64 cell, and then it become blastocyst, right? So then they can implant of the uterine lining. So after that, they will become embryo, okay, embryo. And then they will start to grow the placenta. So placenta will secrete the progesterones, help to maintain the pregnancy. Okay, and then another thing is, actually for this ovum cell, right, this egg cell, okay, inside, they actually have something like the lipid droplets. Then they have the lipid droplets. Why? It's because that the lipid droplets, they can store the energy. Okay, the ovum, they can store the protein and fat. So they can be acting like the source energy to supply for the mitosis later. It's because the mitosis, right, is a process that require energy input. So inside the ovum, inside the cytoplasm ovum, actually they do store the lipid or the proteins or the fats, yeah. And then for this one, okay. So this is a very common type of questions. So they just asking you like this, okay. FSH and LH, right, is being produced from the pituitary glands, okay, from the anterior pituitary parts. So they target on the ovary. So what FSH do is they will help to stimulate the growth and development of follicle. Okay. Yeah. So the follicle later, they will produce the estrogens. LH, they just do the ovulations, okay? They do the ovulations, which is releasing the ovum. Then how about estrogens? Estrogen, right, they just help to promote and repair the uterus lining, okay? Yeah, or you can say that they just stimulate growth or lining of uterus. It's similar, okay? Then progesterone, right, they just help to maintain the thickness of the endometrial lining. And then you should know that their site of production and target organs. So estrogen and progesterone, right, actually they are both being produced from the ovary itself and also the placenta, okay? And also they just target on the uterus. They just target on uterus because they just want to maintain their uterus lining, right? That's why they target on the uterus. Make the uterus lining become very thick, okay, for the implantation later. Okay, so you can have this graph, right? So this is the change of the lining based on the period in the menstrual cycle. So you can see, right, for the first 5 days, okay, the lining is actually dropped. It's because at this periods, right, menstruation happens, so they'll be shedding off the lining. So after the 5-day ends, right, they will restart the cycle. So that's why the follicle stimulating hormones at LH are being stimulated again. So you can grow the follicle. So once you grow the follicle, you can secrete out the estrogens, right? So estrogen will become very low level, become very high level. So the high level of estrogens, okay, like this, estrogen, right, they will just increase in the estrogen level. So when you are actually increasing estrogen level from 7 to 14 days, right, you are actually increasing the lining as well, the thickness of the lining as well. But at this point, okay, you'll be failure of a fertilization. So that's why the progesterone hormones also rapidly drop. That's why the thickness of the lining also drop. Yeah, so you can describe the change, okay? Between 0 and 7 is there is a rapidly decrease in the thickness of the linings. So it decreased the quickest between day 0 and day 3. Okay, because you just want to describe the change only, right? Then between day 7 and day 28, you can see the lining is actually increasing rapidly due to the presence of the estrogen and progesterone. Yeah, so you're actually increasing the thickness of the endometrial linings, and then it remains the same thickness from day 21. So you can see, right, 21 to 28, right, is almost the same thickness. And then any other kind of questions? Okay, so this is Excel. Yeah, see how they draw a jelly cord. So you just draw something like this, okay? Draw an outer layer surround the nucleus. And then the cytoplasm will store protein and fat. So this is exactly how you're able to draw it when the question asking you to draw about the Excel. Just draw like this, simple and nice, easy to be seen, right? Okay, and then when you draw the structure, right, don't draw arrow, okay? So you can just draw something like this, okay? Just put a line, enough already. Don't draw like this, okay? Don't draw like this, no. Just put line. Line, they can clearly label already. And then, okay, I think we can move on the new sections. Sorry, a little bit blur, okay? But I think you can look very clear from the document. Yeah. So why the Excel contains store of protein and fats is because that they will provide a source of energy for the cell division later, and also for the mitosis and the growth. Okay, that's all. Yeah, I think we can move on the new sections. So we already finished talk about menstrual cycle, right? So you should know about the phase, okay? Happens in the menstrual cycle. And then, yeah, the hormone control, so now you already know already. The role of estrogen and progesterones. Okay, so you can see, right? Estrogen, you have two peaks, here and here. But estrogen, right, it will have one peak only, which is between 14 and 21 days. Another thing is what? Okay, this is just similar to what I say just now, okay? Which is, you can see, initially pituitary glands, they will just produce FSH. So they will start the development of the follicle. So follicle produce hormones, which is the estrogens. Estrogen, right, they start to promote the repair of the lining of uterus wall, and they will inhibit on the FSH productions. So when the estrogen level, right, they become high, high level estrogens, they will have a positive feedback on the GnRH, so they can increase the LH and FSH. So they can stimulate the ovulations. So you can see that's the difference between them. If you have a low estrogen, right, you have the low estrogens, you actually will negative inhibits, yeah, negative inhibits on the hypothalamus. So you have the low GnRH. So if you have low GnRH, right, you have a low FSH and LH. Because the low level of estrogens, they will inhibit on the FSH, as written down in this statement. See, low level estrogens, they will inhibit the FSH hormones. But what happens if the estrogen level become very high? High estrogen level. They can positively stimulate the hypothalamus to secrete what? More GnRH. So if they secrete more GnRH, right, they actually can increase the production of the FSH and LH. So that's why you have the surge later. Okay, so if the estrogen rise to high enough level, they can stimulate the release of LH from the pituitary glands, which cause ovulations on the day 14. So the follicle become cooperative and start producing progesterones. So progesterone, right, they will help to maintain the uterus lining and the thickness of the wall. So if there's no more ovum being fertilized, right, the cooperative, they will break down and then drop of the progesterone levels. So this will cause a menstruation cycle happens, shedding of the uterus lining. So they will have period, okay, period, which is bleeding, or they'll start to bleeding. So if the pregnancy does not occur, if the pregnancy occur, so it will continue to produce progesterones. So it will prevent the uterine lining from breaking down and prevent abortions. You know what's mean abortion? 流产. Okay, so the abortion is happen is because the uterus lining, right, they become very thin. 子宫内壁很薄, so the uterus lining become very thin, right? It's not favorable for the implantation of the embryo. The embryo, they cannot implant on the lining, they'll just shut off. Okay, so there will be abortion happen. So after the cooperative continue to produce progesterone, right, they're able to increase the lining. So, and also they will develop a placenta, which is the point they start to secreting the progesterones and continue to maintain throughout the pregnancy. So the organs which they produce progesterone include the cooperative first. So later they will help by the placenta. They just want to maintain a very high level of progesterone throughout the pregnancy. Okay, so this is just for you to have a look. Okay, each of the endocrine organs and how they produce the hormones. So you have this pituitary glands, secret out the LH and FSH. Okay, and then you have the uterus, right? Uterus, okay, you have the estrogen and progesterones, how to maintain their linings. And then you have this ovary, okay? Ovary, you have to produce a progesterone and estrogens, okay, to stimulate egg maturations and stimulate the ovulations. So just remember that FSH will make the egg become mature. LH, they will cause ovulation. That's all. And then now we talk about birth control, right? 避孕, okay? How to have this one birth control is by 4 methods, okay? We talk about chemical first, okay? Chemical, right, is like this one. They use something like a chemical, okay? For example, hormones. Hormones is a kind of chemical. So to prevent the women being pregnant, okay, they will just use the hormone to control them. Like they will eat the contraceptive pill. You know what's my contraceptive pill? 避孕丸. Okay, they will use it 避孕丸, or they will implant some device inside. For example, they will implant this one IUD or IUS. Okay, this is called an intrauterine device. Yeah, intra. Okay, so the theory behind this chemical control is they actually inject a very high amount of the hormones into the body of the women. Okay, so if they can constantly maintain the hormones, for example, like progesterone or the estrogen at a very high level, so they can totally inhibit on the secretion of the FSH and LH hormone, right? So that's why you can prevent the production of the new follicle again, because you have a very, very high level of progesterones. So, and then we already know that high level of progesterones, right, they will inhibit on the FSH and LH secretions. So that's why they will have this kind of implants or pills taken by the women, so they can constantly getting a very, very high amount of the progesterone or the estrogens. Sometimes they will use a barrier. Okay, barrier means that they just wear this one. Male will wear condom and then female will wear femidoms. So this is just like they will physically barrier. Okay, they just acting like physical barrier to prevent the sperm can contact with the ovum, so they can prevent the fertilization happens. Okay. Or sometimes they will do the natural way. Okay, Natural way is you can monitoring the body temperature or monitor the change in the cervical mucus. Okay, how is about this one? Monitoring change in the cervical mucus is like, if you ready to have pregnancy, right? The cervical, right? Cervical is where? Cervical refer to cervix, you know, cervix. Cervix is, they refer to this part. Where's cervix? Here. Okay, cervix is here. See? The P part. Here. So this is not cervix. In Hua, known as 宫颈. Okay, and vagina known. Okay, vagina is like this. So vagina is a site they will use a penis, right? So after that they will inject the we call sperm. So the sperm, right, they can just travel up. Okay, they can just swim towards the oviduct to encounter the ovum. Okay, so this cervix, right, is a very rigid muscular structure. Okay, they will form a muscular ring like this. So the purpose of cervix is they will help to protect. They help to protect the uterus lining. Okay, so what happened is, if you are ready for pregnancy, right, the cervix, okay, they will have a lot of mucus. You know, mucus. You can just imagine, right? This is a cervix, right? If the women, they will have the pregnancy, okay? So there will be a lot of mucus accumulate at here. Mucus is referred to something like 粘液. They will secrete a lot of mucus accumulate around the cervix. So the purpose of this is they can prevent the sperm get enter. Okay, they can prevent the sperm from get enter into the uterus because they're being blocked by the mucus on the cervix, like this. So like this, right, is a natural form of the birth control. Okay, but this natural form, right, is not too accurate. Okay, it's not too accurate. And then surgical, right, for the female, they will do vasectomy. Okay, vasectomy is referred to, they will just cut off their sperm duct, you know. They refer to this one, okay, the sperm duct, for example. Let me show you the picture. Okay, actually it's referred to this one, okay, vasectomy. Like this, see? This is a vasectomy. Okay, in the male only, okay, in the male. So what they do is, the surgeons, right, they will do the surgical procedure. So they just cut off the sperm duct. Okay, here is a sperm duct, here. Here, this whole tube, right, is a sperm duct. So what's the function of sperm duct? The sperm duct is they will help to transport the sperm from the testis, which is the site of productions, gets into the ureter, okay? Sorry, get into the urethra. Yeah. So if you cut off this label, right, so means that the sperm they being produced, right, unable to get into the urethra because it's been cut off already. Okay. So what's important of birth control, right, is they will help to keeping the family size small and limiting the increase in human populations. Okay, so do you know why they need to increase the human populations? It's because that, especially in this era nowadays, right, if you want to have a baby, you need to prepare a lot of money to have a child. So that's why a lot of family, right, they want to restrict their number of children being born. So they need to take this birth control. If they have too much baby, right, but they don't have enough money to rear the baby, it will be very, very very, very severe issue. So that's why they need to do this birth control in the parents, okay? So they can use these 4 ways to do the birth control. And also, another thing is birth control, they can help to protect them from getting this sexually transmitted infections. For example, HIV. So if you do this birth control, right, it's actually how to protect yourself, okay, from getting those infections. So for example, this is birth control implant. This birth control implant, right, actually is an implant. So they will constantly inject the hormones into the body. So the common hormones that will be injected will be the progesterones. Yeah, because they want to ensure your body has a very high level of progesterones. So you're able to inhibit on the productions of the FSH and LH. So you will have no more follicle being produced because the progesterone is too high already. Okay, it's too high level. So this is implantation. Okay, this is known as IUD, intrauterine device. Okay, they just like this. So they will just release a hormone. Okay, they will release a hormone. So this is known as what? Contraceptive implant, intrauterine device. Okay, this one is called femidum. Okay, femidum. They just want to prevent the sperm from getting contact with the ovum, which is the egg cell. Femidum. Or sometimes they will use this diaphragms in the vagina. Okay, diaphragm is just a small cup. Okay, so on the diaphragm, right, they will just put this spermicide. Spermicide is something like the chemical substance. They can kill the sperm. They just want to kill the sperm. So if any sperm, right, they just get to this diaphragm, right, they will be killed by this spermicide. So they can prevent the fertilization happen. Okay, and then this is the contraceptive pill. See, this contraceptive pill, right, actually they just eat about a month. Okay, see, for the first day, right, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 28 days. So inside this contraceptive pill, right, they contain about what? They contain about the progesterones or estrogens here. Okay, so they can help to requires and maintain the very high level of the progesterones or estrogens in their body. So by this, right, you can prevent the productions of the FSH and LH again. Okay, so you have a read on this one. Any intrauterine device is a small device fixed inside the uterus. So they can release, see, they are constantly releasing 6 hormones. So these 6 hormones, right, they can thicken the mucus produced in the cervix, making it difficult for the sperm to swim towards the uterus. Because whenever the sperm want to swim forwards, right, swim to the uterus, right, the cervix, they will produce a lot of mucus. So this mucus, right, they can block the passageway for the sperm to get into the uterus. And then naturally is like Rhythm's method is avoid the sexual intercourse during the fertile periods of the menstrual cycles when the ovulation happens. So that means that the female, right, they need to calculate their periods, whether it's a fertile period. So they need to avoid intercourse between the fertile periods. Okay. And then this one, contraceptive pill implant injection is they will contain either progesterones or a mixture of progesterone and estrogens. So the hormones, they can be delivered from the small skin implant injections. Our barrier will be those one, condom, feminine diaphragms. Surgery will be vasectomy. Okay, just cut down their sperm ducts. So no sperm present in the semen when the ejaculation occurs. Because there's no more sperm being transported, okay, from the testis to the urethra. So that's why even they produce semen, right, the semen, they don't have any sperm inside. And then if a male, right, they want to do vasectomy, they need to think very carefully. Is because it's a permanent procedure, you know. Yeah, see, difficult to reverse means that if you cut your sperm duct, you'll be forever losing your function of sperm duct, you know. Means that you will become infertile in your whole life if you undergo this vasectomy. Okay, and then this one, how do contraceptive hormones in the pill works? They just work by mimicking some of the hormones level during pregnancy. If you able to increase the level of the progesterone and estrogen, right, the uterine lining is being maintained. Means that you increase the progesterone estrogen levels, you are actually increase the thickness of the uterine linings. And then you prevent the development of the egg cell. Means that you prevent the productions of the new follicle cell. So no egg is being released to be fertilized because there's no egg being produced at all. Okay, I think next week, right, we can talk about the fertility treatments. Because it's a very, very long chapter. Okay, and then for the homework, right, you can do the objective. Okay, so let me show you another question there. Okay, so this one, and then yeah, this one. Okay, so this is a sequence. Okay, this is sequence. So the event that occurs in the menstrual cycles. So you should write down, okay, based on the sequence. So first, during the menstrual cycle, right, the lining of the uterus gets thickens, and then the follicle is fully developed, and then the gametes is being released to the oviducts. Okay, and then followed by D, the lining of uterus reach a very maximum thickness. This is because the influence of the progesterones. So after that, they will undergo the menstrual cycle, which is the lining of the uterus is removed from the body. Yeah. So state the name of hormones that stimulate the event A to occur. So see, any hormones which is related to the development of follicles, right, is belong to the FSH hormones. So you just remember that FSH hormones is the first hormones being produced after the menstrual cycle ends. Okay, so here, this one. The pregnant woman, right, when you view from the side, it will be something like this. You can see the fetus inside. And then what happens between the ovulation and formation of fetus? So you should able to describe the process, the difference of the process. Okay, first, you want to have the ovulation first, right? Yeah. So sperm are deposited in the vagina and then they release to the oviducts. Okay, it means that the sperm, right, they just swim toward the oviducts. So the enzyme from the acrosome, they will digest the jelly cord around eggs. So they will cause of fertilizations, which is the fusion of the nucleus of male and female gametes to form the diploid zygotes. So the zygote, what they do is they're able to travel down the oviducts, see, and then they can implant on the intermediate wall of uterus. So now you're talking about the formation of fetus. Okay, so the mitosis cell division take place to develop, become the zygote. So after you develop, become the morula. Morula is a ball or cell, right? So they can just implant on the uterus, yeah, and then you develop, become the umbilical cords. Okay, so here's a process, finished already. And then for this one, okay, FSH and LH hormones, okay, FSH and LH hormones. So at the day 14, right, the LH hormone, they should be higher level than FSH hormone. Even both of them also have such in the hormones. So the target organs for the FSH will be the ovary. Okay, FSH is being produced from the anterior pituitary glands, so they will just target on the ovary. So how they just reach the target organs? Because it's hormone, right? So it's being traveled by the bloodstream. Okay, they just travel by bloodstream and then they just reach the ovary. And then describe the relationship shown by these two hormones. Both hormones follow the same patterns. Both reach a peak at day 14. Okay, just that LH, right, they still have the higher concentrations than FSH at the day 14. So this is just very simple. Just describe the difference between them only. And then the role for FSH LH. So FSH will be stimulate the growth and development of follicles, and also stimulate the releasing of estrogen from the ovary. It's because the follicle development, right, they will secrete a lot of estrogen. So FSH indirectly help to secrete the estrogens from the growing follicle. They help with the luteinizing hormones. They will just promote ovulations, which is releasing of egg cell from the ovary. Okay, they just release the ovum. Okay, say release of ovum or the egg cell. Okay, egg cell. It's not an egg. Sorry, this is my mistake. Okay, releasing of the ovum or egg cell from the ovary. So they just produce a copper tubes, right? So later they will produce a progesterones. Okay, the change that occur in the lining of uterus during the one menstrual cycle is, you can say that in beginning of menstrual cycle, which is in the first 7 days, menstrual cycle started. So the internal lining become thinner. Because what? Because they are undergo shedding. Okay, you can say shedding of the uterus lining. So cause the lining become very thicker. Thinner. So however, in the second week, right, which is day 7 to 14 days, there will be increasing the thickness of the linings due to the estrogens effects. Okay, so you know that estrogen is being produced due to the follicle growth. So if you are increasing in thickness of internal lining, right, they become very constant in the last 2 weeks due to the progesteron effects. If there's no fertilizations. Okay, and then for this one, how hormones in the contraceptive pills acting birth control. So you can say that in the contraceptive pill, right, they contains either progesterones or they have progesterone mixing with the estrogens, so they can help to inhibit on the secretion of FSH and LH. So this will prevent the formation of the new follicle, or they can reduce the maturation of follicle and eggs. So it means that the follicle itself, they cannot mature, become a gravid follicle. So, and also another thing is progesterone, right? They can help to maintain the lining of the uterus, and also they can help to secrete the mucus. You know, progesterone, right? They actually can help the uterus lining, right, increasing their mucus secretions. So they can thickness. They can thicken. Okay, they can thicken the cervical mucus. So if the cervix there, right, they will be blocked by the mucus, a very thick layer of mucus. They can just block the entry of the sperm. Okay, so they can prevent the fertilization happen. Okay, they can just prevent the fertilization happen. So between 20 here, okay, between the 21 to 28 days, right, here will be the progesterones. And then between the 7 and 14 days, right, will be the estrogens. Estrogens help to promote the thickness of the abdominal lining. See? And then in the first 7 days, right, it will be the menstrual cycle. So you are shedding off the lining. So at the time you are shedding off lining, right, actually you have the follicle growth. Follicle growth. Okay. See, I'm writing showing that there's a follicle growth. So you can secrete more estrogens. So here become very high estrogen already. Okay, here become very low estrogen. Okay, I think that's all for today. Yeah. Other question, right? I think you can read by yourself. It's not as hard as you think, right? Okay, I have homework to give you, okay? So after you go back, you can attempt on paper 2. Okay, attempt on paper 2. Okay, that's all for today. So at those, do you have any question to ask me? Everything so far so good? Okay,
Yeah.
thanks. Okay, bye. Good night.